Hello and welcome to the third episode of the Bobcast. Sorry for the wait on this video. I kind of hope it was worth it because I put a lot more effort into this episode. And today we're going to be talking about what is arguably the most relevant and important topic in modern society, that being the end of humanity, which some of the ideas and points I make today might be pretty controversial to some, but I made sure to fact check everything, so all of what I say will be true, and I hope you enjoy, so let's begin. The reason for the downfall of humanity lies in many different causes, but the most prevalent being political factors. By this I mean who governs and controls us, because despite what many believe, we're not truly free in our society. We're just blindfolded and locked in a cage, so that when a few of us finally do take the blindfold off, we'd be so excited that we don't see past the bars, or we see the cage like a paradise. That's what freedom really is. But I, personally, I look past the bars. I saw the world for the prison that it is, but I can't do anything about it because I'd end up being called crazy or deluded for my radical beliefs by the media, which has happened before and it will happen again. This is the same thing that happened to the Unabomber. I am in no way supporting him or his actions, but his views on society and humanity as a whole did come from a place of truth. It's just the way he showed his truth was wrong, obviously. And that one sort of mistake gave the dictators of the world the ammunition they needed to dismiss anyone else who tried to, they dared to expose them for the frauds that they are. I can't really explain this any other way than dystopian, really. I mean, people who speak out are labelled as terrorists, with the President of the United States even saying, and I'm quoting this from the official White House website, under the leadership of President Donald J. Trump, far-left extremism will be treated with the same seriousness and ferocity the world has long reserved for jihadist terrorism. Kind of butchered the name of that, but, it's just insane for many reasons, because left-wing extremism can be really anything from anti-capitalist to vandalism, and in very extreme cases, arson, or assassinations, which has happened in the past, but, such as the group of anarchists, they've committed arson and riot to get their point across, but I don't think that's anything really compared to jihadist terrorists. I mean, again, I butchered the name on that, but they include groups such as Al-Qaeda. So the fact that the president chose to kind of group these two together really shows his way of thinking. He's basically saying that if you don't support him or his connections, who, then you are a terrorist. Not only this, but the White House has also officially stated that if you're anti-fascist, yes, them fascists, then you'll be seen as a terrorist. Yes, you heard that right. Being against Hitler makes you a terrorist. I mean, personally, I'm just glad that I'm not American, because, the way that country is going, it's reminding me of a certain time period in Germany. A voice crack. I mean, especially due to the fact that they are literally becoming Nazis. I mean, the president and his army of mindless followers have committed every single crime that the highest-ranking Nazi leader, Hermann Göring, was killed for in the Nuremberg trials. I can list them. Crimes against peace with the illegal wars in Venezuela and Iran, who both didn't threaten nor attack the US first. His regime has also committed war crimes such as the illegal bombings of fishing boats in the Caribbean, civilian boats. 3. They've also committed another war crime, that being the bombings of the schools in Iran, where 120 innocent children died, and a whole bunch of other Iranian civilian buildings, again, civilians. And charge number 4, crimes against humanity, with the president's version of the SS, which he calls ICE. It's not fooling anybody. They are literally his personal army. They've committed this crime through murder, enslavement, deportation of, legal citizens, and even more disgusting acts, again, all against civilians. Which, is just saying something, because it's been confirmed that over 90% of their arrests and, deportations were all illegal. As in, what they did was illegal. They've also sent immigrants to Seacot, which is a prison reserved for MS-13 and other, large mafias and gangs and cartels. There's been a strange disappearance of literally thousands of immigrants from federal records, all completely wiped clean without a trace. And the racist bottom feeders who work for ICE, yes, they're all racist, and I have no respect for any of them. They were executing protesters and, again, civilians for their skin colour, their freedom of speech, which, considering America is labelled, the country of the free, or the land of the free, is really saying something. Now, I could go all day speaking about my opinions on that pig in a suit who can barely function, let alone run an entire country, that country being the biggest and most powerful in the world. But, I think I'll save that for another day. Now, I personally believe that capitalism is obviously the wrong system of government, just due to how flawed it is. Every decade it fails. It's called a recession. People say that, capitalism's never failed. It does all the time. Prime example being Venezuela. In the, 60s, 70s and 80s, it was a thriving nation. But then the 80s came and, again, due to capitalism, completely failed. They had a great economy before then. They had a high oil output, which kind of funded everything in the country. And, and then the increase in global oil prices caused them to plummet into mass debt, which, ruined the economy. Now, the same people who say that capitalism never fails, they're also often the same people who say that communism has never succeeded, which it has, and the reason why it's not really widespread is because of capitalists. I could think of a bunch of examples. The Cold War was started because America was threatened, or they felt threatened, by the Soviet Union because of their communist nature. They completely antagonized and they victimized themselves, and they antagonized the Soviet Union because they felt threatened by them being communist, because they 100% knew that they had the right sort of system. I'm not really supporting communists. I'm personally not a communist, but I can see how unfair the treatment of communists are. The Vietnam War and the Korean War, they were also both started because America felt threatened by communism. In World War II, the Allies attacked the Soviets again because they felt threatened. This kind of caused the whole Cold War. It's very unfair, the treatment of them, especially when people don't really understand what communism is. They have the same treatment as socialists. They kind of see socialists as communists and communists as villains. Personally, again, not a communist or anything, but I do think the treatment of them is very unfair, and I might be a bit biased because I'm very anti-capitalist. But I do have some other points that I'd like to mention, with the other one being corporations, which I will go over now. Look outside. There are advertisements everywhere. Corporations hell-bent on selling you anything they can, especially targeting the youth and the vulnerable. a prime example of this being those viral sort of squishy foods, you know, like the butters and the dumplings and all that crap, you know. As someone who works in a retail position, you know, I work at a shop, I sell what seems like thousands a day, you know. So I think I'm the perfect person to say how useless and wasteful they are. They're nothing but colourful plastic filled with literal glue. You know, they're kind of getting a lot of hate for that at the moment because they're kind of poisonous. But, you know, anyways, it's just another trend that will end up in another landfill, causing another iceberg to melt. And what happens then? You know, when people are panicking about climate change but really just too lazy to do anything about it, they need a distraction. But good thing your favourite soulless capitalist pigs just released their new extra cute glitter dumplings that everyone can buy, and the cycle repeats itself. The bourgeoisie scum born into wealth always win. It's inevitable. The only change that we can make is by throwing our life savings into an ocean for the fish to choke on, because we cannot change this broken system. Because that's how society works. Our ancestors weren't rich enough to build a multi-million-pound business, so now we have to work in a factory until our bones shatter and our sweat turns into blood. When you think about this burning mess of a society that we all live in, it makes you want, not just want, but need a distraction. I mean, that's kind of the reason why a lot of us have no money. You know, if you're in the same position as me, you kind of spend it all instantly. It's just a constant reminder that you're in debt to every business you look at, or the fact that the economy is horrific at the moment. But if you need a quick dopamine hit, luckily that saviour that is TikTok or, you know, YouTube or Instagram, whatever you watch, you know, it's here to bless you with the curse of addiction. And when you open the app, the first video you see is AI-generated brain rot, then an ad for an AI-generated game, then another AI-generated brain rot. It's all the same. It's terrible. I hate it, but it's an addiction. That's the truth, it is. Then, before you scroll to the next ad or whatever, you know, you realise there isn't any human-made content. It's almost like they're all, you know, dead. You decide to research this lack of any human presence on the internet. You eventually find what's called the dead internet theory. So you search it out to look about more what it is, and at first you see the AI overview. Just as ironic as it is devastating, you swipe past it, and then after hours of searching you finally find an answer that's made by an actual human. The dead internet theory is the idea that the internet is predominantly bot activity or artificial intelligence, like AI. It's built to change algorithms so that the viewers constantly become consumers, swarmed by ads so that they avoid people calling the system out. I could be an example of that when you think about it. Alongside this, it also created a wave of AI slop, which is kind of what it says on the tin. Charminator reference, those who know. As it's just recyclable content created by bots to gain a following of brain-dead consumers who would buy whatever they sell. Some of you watching this right now will think that, you know, all brain rot AI is good, you know, it's funny. But good news to you, you're being brainwashed by meaningless products. You know, they sell thousands of these random merchandise and products that useless, you know. You've got that tongue Sahur thing. What is that? It's useless. All of them, useless. It's stupid and it's meant to make you buy stuff. That's the truth. You know, I mean, but there is still hope for you, you know. You know, you have to give up the urge to scroll. It's easier said than done, I can tell you that. Which is, you know, it's exactly what CEOs and corporations want. Now you're hooked, and they can control you. They can mold you into their personal slave. It sounds far-fetched, but, it's the truth. You're currently a slave. You're just waiting on your next command, your next order. They are literally controlling you, and you don't even know it. And even if you do know it, you're too lazy and ignorant to do anything about it. It's not your fault. They've literally brainwashed you. I know I sound crazy right now, because it is crazy. It's a crazy thing that is happening right now. We're living in a nightmare, and there's no way to leave it because the system is just that rigged. Our planet is dying. The endless heat waves are causing droughts that destroy the land, ice caps are melting, and animals are just going extinct left and right. I'm not going to say that we have to do something about this, because we won't. We've had chance after chance to heal the wounds made by human greed, and we threw it away. We spat on our opportunity to help ourselves, because now it's too late to save Earth, and people are still ignorant to the damage that's being made as we continue to pollute the ocean, deforest nature, and poach the very few remaining animals left. And now there's an illness ruining the world. It's actually been there for thousands of years, I'd say, It's a merciless plague that's been destroying everything it comes into contact with. And that illness is humanity. Because we're a disease. We burn land, we kill wildlife, and we just we kind of shoot the earth in the head, really. I mean, just look at the planet, and you can see the effects of our existence. Look behind me, look at the grass. It's because of us. It's not because of, any other animal. It's all us. I mean, what gives us the right to enslave the world for our own amusement? What gives us the right to kill animals, to burn trees, to, build factories over land that other animals could use to create their own families, create their own lives? I'll tell you what, nothing gives us the right. We've seen the stories of what will happen when we continue to harm the planet. As stupid as it sounds, the Lorax, as everyone knows, the whole point of it is, it's all about global warming and climate change. It's a kids' movie, and we still don't understand that. We don't understand a kids' movie. There are hundreds of other examples, but it doesn't matter. We ignore those warnings. Every sign, every warning that our impact will cause not only humanity's demise, but everything's demise. But this is the final warning that we've been given. This is the last straw that we have. The rise in temperature, that is, it's going right over everyone's heads, really. I mean, because to them it's just like a mild inconvenience that the grass isn't as green as they want it to be. If anything, some of them see it as a gift, so it's a nice hot day where we can, go out and contribute to the end of Earth by buying products from the hands of our capitalistic overlords. Because that's what we do. We see the harm that we're caused. We see the damage that's been done, and we completely ignore it. Because that's what humans do. We ignore everything. Human greed and human ignorance will be the cause for Earth's demise. Basic human emotions and sympathy are gone. People don't care anymore. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Kindness is a lie. I don't need to show you any proof. It's right there in front of you. You've got this clip here.
Every single female in your bloodline is nothing but a disgusting fat. And all of you should have your throat cut. Yeah, you should.
This one here.
Camera. The video we're going to show you is shocking and begins after the medics arrive at the first attack. They're in neon jackets calling the second ambulance in after a father and his young daughter have been hit. As the crew arrives, there's another bomb.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
When slowed down, you can see the bomb hitting the front of the ambulance. The moment of impact is captured by a second camera inside the arriving ambulance. The two-man crew rushing to help their colleagues and those injured on the road somehow escaped with their lives. But now they too are wounded. All three of their colleagues outside on the street were killed, as well as the father, his young child, and a civilian who'd stopped to help.
And so many more examples, it literally seemed infinite. I have no hope for the human race anymore. I used to see our species as a zenith of Earth, an unstoppable force with the indomitable human spirit. But now I see the truth, the cold and unforgiving reality of mankind, because the fact is that we are a plague. We're a sickness that kills anything it touches. We created weapons of mass destructions just to solve an issue that we've started. A lot of these issues are purely ignorance, but many of the problems facing humanity is caused by the upper classes and the media hiding the true horrors that are happening right now in front of us. A Guatemalan couple, Glendy Marisol Gonzalez and De La Cruz and Nixon Giovanni Perez Paz, kind of messed up the names there, but they were both found dead in a sugarcane field. They were bound, gagged and shot, with their 1-year-old child alive next to them after ICE deported them. A certain group of terrorists described as soldiers, I think you know who I'm talking about, but you know, they are targeting children and ambulances. They're using innocent hostages as human shields and controlling the media, victimizing themselves by using religion as an excuse to commit literal war crimes. Again, I'm pretty sure you know who I'm talking about. Oil companies are acting as the main contributors to wildfires as they rack in billions of pounds, dollars, whatever. They completely ignore the damage that they've been done. Either that or they simply do not care. A pregnant woman was stabbed to death and a murderer tore the baby out of the womb, killing both of them. Nestle has still faced no repercussions for their actions. You know, they haven't faced any backlash for what they did in the 70s, where they convinced African mothers to swap their natural milk with their formula, when they knew that the only water they could access would be dirty and dangerous for infants. This killed thousands of infants there. Nor have they faced any punishment for the forced child labour that they used to farm their cocoa. They're doing this so much that roughly 96% of its cocoa can be traced back to child labour, as shown on their website in plain view. The reason why they don't face any repercussions is because they're $1 billion corporation. You know, I mean, Nestle owns some of the most popular products used worldwide, not just chocolate. They own over 2,000 different corporations, making them almost impossible to boycott or attack. They use 100 billion gallons of water a year. For comparison, ChatGPT only uses 31 million, which is still a ludicrous amount. As well as this, an AI company called Anthropic are destroying books so that new AI programs can find real information to train from because of how much AI content was on the internet. They can't train it. The new programs literally cannot use any other information because it's all full of bot content. Again, linking back to the dead internet theory. They literally shred the books. They buy them, they scan them, and they shred them to make it as efficient as possible. You know what I mean? And anyone who tries to speak out against this is either labelled as a terrorist or insane. The media suppresses their voices and manipulates the public's perception of them. They've done this hundreds of times to hundreds of people. They've even done it to me, as some of you may know, but I'm not going to take it. I'm going to fight for the truth, fight for the planet, and fight for a better world than the one we live in. And these examples I've shown, they're just a fraction of what's wrong with society and the world. So there is a valid reason, at least in my opinion, for why I believe that humanity is dying. They caused our downfall, and they're leaving it up to us to keep feeding their machine whilst our homes are being destroyed, land is being ruined, and empathy is decaying day by day because nobody cares anymore. Nobody's willing to fight, nobody's willing to try. Everyone has given up on the world. And I partly have. I'm not going to sit here and say that I have hope for us. I don't. There is no hope. We are fucked. And I know this episode was a bit political, because personally I hate politics. But considering how relevant it is in today's society, it's hard to avoid. So please, if you have any care for the planet, or for humanity at all, then please speak up against it. Because I can't make a change, and neither can you. But if we unite together, then we can actually make a difference. Billions of people every day think that they can't help because they're just one person. So we have to band together if we want to live. Because this is real. This isn't a video game, this isn't a movie. This is the truth that we're living in. Right now, we are living in the end of the world. There's not much left time. There's not much time left to save humanity, the environment and the broken government that controls us. There's not much time left for us to fix it before we go to a point of no return and we are all fucked. It's not fair and it's not just, and I will fight for it. I will do anything I can to end this oppression that's been put on the proletarian class. And that's all for today. So have a good day, and I hope you took something from this video. And please, don't let them silence you. If you have an opinion, which you have the right to, speak up against it. Tell people it. Say something, do anything to get your opinions across. Because no one can take that from you. That's the one thing that makes you human. So if you're sitting there today thinking I can't make a change or I can't make a difference, you can. You can't. But we can. Work together and fight for the truth. Don't let them silence you.